time! You look ridiculous.
Hello and welcome to What Culture. Joining myself is Gareth Morgan. I'm Andrew Pollard, and we have just got back from a midnight showing of Deadpool and Wolverine. It's for full, pulling the curtain back. It's 4 a.m. in the morning here, but the content machine never sleeps. Gareth, firstly, how awake are you? And secondly, how did you find this film?
I am not awake. I feel like I've died and gone to Marvel heaven at this point because that was an experience. I've not done one of these in a while, one of these midnight release things. So that was a thing in itself, just being around a lot of people who were loving the Marvel life and just being excited for an MCU offering, which feels like that's not happened for me in probably since like Spider-Man. I don't feel like we've had this level of hype and excitement. I think it was paid off to a certain degree. I think there was a lot of great stuff within this film. There's a lot of things that maybe I wasn't as satisfied with. Like, it wasn't a perfect film by any means, but I think the things that hit, they really hit. And it felt like the beginning of perhaps a bolder era in the MCU, dare I say.
I like that, Boulder. And we should probably say from the get-go, from Jump Street, that this is a spoiler-free review. So obviously we will dance around certain plot points. Certain things have been established in the trailers anyway, so they're kind of fair game. But this is a spoiler-free one. But elsewhere on the channel, you will see a completely it's all the spoilers out there. All things are addressed. The things that you maybe noticed and you want answers on, that will be addressed. So go and check that out if you want to go that route. But if not, this is a spoiler-free land where we're just here to give you some brief thoughts. So yeah, plot-wise, as shown in the trailer, you've got a Deadpool who's a bit down on his luck, and then even more down on his luck is the realization that his world is going to the dogs unless he can somehow find a Wolverine to help him. And there we go. That sets the table nicely.
It does, yeah. He goes off and finds said Wolverine, and it's again we can't really go into the spoiler territory, but that in itself is a ride. Like, that is a ride, and they do end up in like a desolate wasteland, like obviously a certain familiar wasteland. Again, I can't remember if that has been mentioned or not in the trailer exactly where they are, but they end up there, and that just opens the door for so many wonderful appearances. Many of them you've seen in the trailer, many of them you've not, and you are not ready at all, because it is. I feel like it's a strange feeling. Like I've seen this thing now that I know so many people haven't. It's like I feel like I've watched something taboo, and it's hilarious. It's shocking at times. It's quite emotional at certain points. Like this entire film, like the overarching feeling that I got coming out of this film is that it was a love letter, really, to Marvel just in general. But a lot of the Marvel movies that now seem to not get as much respect, really, or as much attention as what they probably should do. A lot of time and effort went into these films, like over the years, all these Fox Marvel movies that now have almost, well, for a while there, were just kind of shoved out of the way and not made part of this new MCU canon. And this movie just felt like it was its core mission in a way was just to kind of go, no, like these movies were a big part of a lot of people's childhoods in a way, and like a lot of the people who were involved in making them like give a lot of their soul and a lot of their life to do that, like, and just to make these pieces of art, whether you love them or you just tolerated them, whatever it was, like a lot of effort went into them. And yeah, I quite like that. I was so strangely nostalgic for things that I didn't realize I was nostalgic for, but then as I was watching this movie, I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, that's hitting some kind of nerve. But at the same time, it also at times felt like there was just a lot being thrown at you, a lot of stuff. It was just like, what's the story again? What's happening? And it's just like, remember this, and your mind's. It's one of those that I will definitely be revisiting, because there are things that we just weren't able to catch on the first watch because you are just inundated with things. But I think if you're feeling a bit of fatigue, that word's been thrown around a lot, like superhero fatigue. If you're feeling that right now, this felt like a bit of a tonic in a way, because yeah, it was like a lot of cameos and nostalgia, all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, the rated R vibe felt throughout this film made it feel fresh. It felt like the MCU, but a lot of the time unlike any kind of MCU that you've ever seen before.
Yeah, man, there was plenty of F-bombs, there was plenty of MFs, there was a few Cs. It was all the language being thrown out there. And of course, lots of gratuitous, gory glorious violence. I should probably touch upon the villain as shown in the trailers. It is Cassandra Nova, the twin sister of one Charles Xavier, Professor X, played by Emma Corrin here, who people will know from The Crown, or if you watch Pennyworth, that's where I first came across her. That was a very underrated show that I did not expect to be as good as it was, but it was like, okay, I didn't really need to see any of Alfred's backstory, but I'm kind of digging this, and then it got cancelled. So yeah, but she was, I thought, at times very, very good. Maybe there was, as is so often the case with the MCU, the villains can sometimes, maybe I don't know what the term is, the correct phrase, feel not quite weak because she's a very powerful character, but just the story here clearly was the buddy cop vibe between Logan and Deadpool, almost like the classic pro wrestling. We like our pro wrestling, Gareth Morgan. It's like the can they coexist sort of vibe, where opponents get thrown together and they have to try and tag together and be a team, but they both secretly hate each other. But then they kind of grow to like each other, but then they still really hate each other, and there's lots of fighting. That was kind of the vibe. Yeah.
And that's the dynamic that really anchors the movie, really drives the movie. That's what you came to see. Do you know what I mean? It's there. It's on the poster. That is what you're here for, and it's nice to see that isn't sidelined at really any point. You do get a lot of it. You get a lot of what you paid your money for, so that's a good thing. And it felt like everyone involved, like Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds, it felt like they were really getting to explore like different areas of Deadpool and Wolverine that they hadn't before. Do you know what I mean? They were really having a good time with that and just bouncing off each other, riffing. I'd want to see all the outtakes of what was no doubt just streams of improvisation between these two, because I bet it was an absolute hoot.
There were several points in the film where it's like, that's clearly improvised, that's improvised, and you know that the person facing away from Cam is just absolutely wetting themselves, trying not to ruin the scene. And there is a lot of heart in this film. There's a lot of blood, there's a lot of heart, there's a lot of just kind of fist bumping moments of awesome. I do quite like, and it's not a spoiler, but how there will be moments where, because Deadpool is a character who breaks the fourth wall, but there are moments when he'll kind of address the audience and say like, this is going to be good to a certain fight or two, and then it's like, oh, that is right, that is correct. And the action sequences, there's some brilliant set pieces. There's one in particular I would love to talk about, but this is our spoiler-free one. But you can check out there were several great action set pieces. One in particular that I just, in a very confined space, and it's like they've really made this work very, very smartly.
The key question I've got though, my friend, my Mr. Pollard, Deadpool, is I need to know, do you think this movie has saved the MCU? That's the big question a lot of people had coming into it. It felt like, is this going to be Marvel Jesus? Is it going to come in and just really rejuvenate an MCU that's just felt a bit flat, a bit stale recently? Do you feel like it did enough to make you go, you know what, yeah, I'm back, I'm buckled back up into this ride? Or did it just feel like, okay, this is just putting a bit of a band-aid on it, putting a plaster on it for a little bit, and then we're just going to go back to the same old afterwards?
Yeah, the MCU's felt a little bit hindered, lacking its spark, since there was Endgame and then there's been No Way Home, which I absolutely love, just because the Tom Maguire, man, that's all I needed. That's all I needed. But anything other than that, and some people have kind of started to sour a little bit on Endgame as well, but other than that, there's nothing really that, I mean, I've kept up to date with everything and watched everything, but there's nothing where it's been like, oh, that's really must see, I can't wait to rewatch that one. Even Doctor Strange, where Multiverse of Madness, where that promised so much for the trailers, especially that the scene where it's like, oh my god, we're getting Reed Richards, Professor X, there we go, Haley Atwell's back, and then it's like, oh, they've just all been vaporized in like 20 seconds. Brilliant. And Monica Rambeau as well. But yeah, for me, it's one of those films where, as you mentioned, I need to see this again, because there's so much to digest, and I came out of it like a giddy kid, very excited. I don't know if that was to do with all the caffeine I had to be awake at this time in the morning, and it was a lot, or if it was basically what I'm trying to say is, how does the film do on like a surface level when the dust settles and you get past maybe the surprises that are there, and there are plenty of surprises have been teased, surprises have been delivered, and maybe what if you get past that and kind of pack it down to the film on a basic level, whether the story is strong enough. I think it is. I think it's a good story. I think the fact that again, it's no spoiler that both of the two title characters are very much down on their luck. As told in the trailers, this is, of all the Wolverines in the whole multiverse, this is the very worst one, according to everybody. And he is a hard drinking, depressed, aggressive, very sweary Logan, which is kind of on point for Logan just in general, to be honest. Whether it's the best Wolverine or the worst Wolverine, that's kind of certain character traits that are always ticked off. But yeah, they're both on their own journeys. It's developments as we go. We do, of course, find out why this Logan is the worst Logan. And it comes together nicely. I think my initial thoughts right now, I'm very excited for where the MCU is going. Just in terms of how the film addresses the MCU. It's the kind of put up on this pedestal where, like, oh, we're moving away from the Fox movies, because obviously Deadpool, the previous two movies were put up by 20th Century Fox, who got assimilated by 21st Century Fox, assimilated by Disney, now Marvel Studios. So it's kind of embracing that side and kind of poo-pooing on what's been before, and that's kind of a big deal on that. And again, breaking the fourth wall and talking about being in the MCU and how much of a big deal it is to be in the MCU, and that, like, Deadpool's finally made it. It sparks interest for me, at least. But that is, again, initial reactions at 4:05 a.m. with a bunch of caffeine and sugar in me.
Yeah, that is it. So I hope that, like, this video just in general has made something like resembling sense, because our brains are mashed potato right now, the absolute mashed potato. But I'd say we've had a lot of fun with this movie. We're really curious to see, like, what you felt about it, like, afterwards. Maybe, I don't know if you're going to watch this non-spoiler. It'd be strange to watch the non-spoiler before you've seen the film. I don't know, whatever you're going to do. But if you've been and watched it and you've come back and just wanted to see our lovely faces, let us know what you thought of the film down below. What are the things that maybe, if you haven't seen it, what are you excited to see? Like, just throw that in the comments, and then it'll be just hilarious to see what is actually accurate and what actually does pop up in the movie.
Guess who might be popping up in there. Let us know who you think might make an appearance or two.
My goodness, you're not ready. But I have been Gareth from What Culture. This has been the wonderful Andrew Pollard from What Culture, and we are going to discuss what is next, what we think is next for the MCU, but we're going to do it in our spoilerific video, which you will be able to find on the channel. It is going to be there. But that is enough for this video right now. Whatever you're doing with your life, go and have fun, and we will see you very, very soon.